Let's get down to business. Thanks for coming out tonight.
I wrote me a manual, a step-by-step booklet for you to get.
Oh, I make money moves.
You can't see me, my time is now.
What up, guys? Welcome back to the Fitness Times Business Podcast, the show created to provide you with the practical and strategic advice to help you level up in fitness, business, your career, your relationships, and your life. My name is Joseph Mencel. I am your host, flying solo in this episode for you guys. Let me tell you, episode number 50. For real. Episode number 50 of the Fitness Times Business Podcast. I can't believe that we're about to record 50 episodes of this podcast, man. Absolutely unreal. Guys, let me tell you, this podcast is on absolute fire at the moment. Every single episode we drop, we moved to the weekly drops as of the start of 2022, and you guys are enjoying them more than we could have anticipated. The Your 4 segment is going super well. These solo podcasts, full-length episodes, everything is exceeding our expectations, and that is thanks to you guys sharing the show. As I mentioned, we don't run ads on this show. We don't run ads for the show. It's completely organic. The growth of this show is completely because you guys are enjoying the content and you're telling people about it. You're letting people know that this podcast is delivering a whole lot of value for free and that people should come listen. So I appreciate that, guys. And I encourage you, if you've shared the show maybe once or twice in the past, but there's an episode, this episode, for example, that just hits you in a way that an episode hasn't hit you in quite some time, make sure you share that episode as well. Share it person to person, share it in your Instagram story, your Facebook story, whatever social media platform you use. Just take a screenshot of this episode or of this podcast, post it in your story, tag me at Joseph Mencel. I love seeing those tags, and you guys know I reshare as many of them as I possibly can. So thank you guys for continuing to share the show, and I encourage you guys to do it with every episode that you resonate with. So I'm going to do something a little special for this 50th anniversary episode of the Fitness Times Business Podcast. This episode is called Execution is Everything. And a couple of things have inspired me to do this episode, guys. The first one is we had a question in last week's show, the Your 4 segment, about why I don't hesitate to share a lot of this personal development techniques and tips, and why I'm so open with sharing things that have helped me achieve success in all different areas of my life. And my answer to that question, as you guys know, you tuned in, one was infinite mindset, and the second one was most people won't do anything with the information anyway. They just won't execute on it. So that answer kind of inspired me to take a little bit of a deeper dive into, firstly, why executing is so important, and then secondly, why most people don't do it, what stops most people from executing, and then finally, how to overcome those 5 things. I've identified 5 things that I think are the 5 most prevalent that stop people from executing, how to overcome those 5 things so that you are one of the exceptions to the rule and you do take shit and you do execute on it. So I have in the Massive Joe's headquarters main office here. So we've got a whole bunch of different rooms here. Where I shoot the podcast is actually our boardroom at the moment, but we're in the process of building a dedicated podcast room, which is pretty cool. But we have a bunch of different rooms: boardroom, breakout area, media wing, warehouse, obviously. And we've got a main office here where most of our management staff work. It's like a communal office. We all work in the same room. And in the room, we have these big canvas prints hanging on the wall. And the canvas prints have the face of an icon, male or female, and one of their famous quotes. So it's got like the face in the background, kind of transparent, and then one of their famous quotes in red and black writing smack bang in the middle of this canvas. And I have a few of these canvases right around my area of the office, and one of them is Richard Branson's face. And the quote is quite simply the title of this episode: Execution is Everything. And I keep that always within my line of sight because I understand how important it is to execute, how important it is to take ideas, put them in motion, work towards an end goal, and just get shit done. So I want to open this episode up by exploring just briefly why executing is so important. It's pretty obvious, right? You guys know the whole point of executing is that it drives progress. If you don't execute, you can't ever get shit done. You can't progress towards your goals. You're not going to make any progress. You're not going to grow as a person, and you're just going to be spinning your fucking wheels until you build up whatever you need to build up to go and put one foot in front of the other and do what you need to do to execute. That is the most obvious. That kind of goes without saying. A couple of less obvious reasons why execution is everything. The first one is that it's where you develop skills. It's where you put yourself in uncomfortable situations, doing things that you haven't done before, failing and learning lessons from those failures, and just putting yourself in situations where you can grow and where you can develop skills whereby if you hadn't executed, you wouldn't have had the opportunity to grow and develop those skills. So that's something that kind of gets pushed, a little bit to the wayside when it comes to execution. But that's really the second reason why executing is so important, is growth and skill development. And then the third one that most people overlook, but we've all experienced it from time to time, is executing is where momentum starts and where momentum stops. You either build momentum through execution and you build the habits and the routines of executing so that you become somebody who executes without even fucking thinking about it, or you don't execute and you build momentum in the other direction of procrastination, of regression, and building habits and routines of somebody who doesn't execute. And I can't stress this enough, guys. There is no middle ground between these two. You're either executing and building positive momentum, or you're procrastinating and you're destroying momentum. That's it. Those are the two options. It's black, it's white. There's no middle gray area here. So executing is everything because it's where momentum starts and stops. And when I say that we've all experienced this, even though we may not have identified it, everybody has experienced this when it comes to fitness, right? And the habit of working out. When you start a new fitness regime, it's really difficult, right? Because you're going from not working out to now working out 3 times a week, 4 times a week, every single day, whatever that fitness regime looks like. But you know that once you kind of get over that initial hump, you build this momentum of just working out 3 times a week, 5 times a week, every single day. You don't even think about it. It's built into your habits, it's built into your routines. You develop this momentum of executing on your fitness regime when it comes to going to the gym or going to the CrossFit box or whatever the fuck you're doing and getting the work done. It's very difficult at the start, but as you execute, you start to build this momentum and it gets easier and easier and easier and easier. And the momentum of execution just carries you through and allows you to continue to execute. We've all experienced that. We've also all experienced it when it comes to our work. If you're a business owner, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you're an employee for someone else's business or you work in a company, you know exactly what this feels like. When you're in a rut, it feels like executing is really fucking hard. It feels like sitting on your hands and procrastinating and coming up with every bullshit excuse under the sun is much easier than actually doing the fucking work in both career and business. We know what that feels like. We've all been there for one reason or another. On the flip side, you guys know what it feels like when you're just on fucking fire. When in business, everything you touch works the way you want it to work. And you build up this momentum of like, well, give me more. Let's go. Come on, I can do this. I can do that. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Let's move faster. That's momentum of execution. In your career, in your job, you know what it feels like to be handed a project, crush the project, go, what's next? Give me the next thing. Give me the more difficult thing. Give me the thing that's going to really test me. We know what that feels like. That is momentum of execution. That's what happens when you take those first few steps, you build this momentum, and the momentum starts to become self-perpetuating. The momentum actually drives the execution. We've all experienced it. A lot of us just don't identify it as that's why executing is so important, because it starts with action. It starts with executing. It starts with getting over that initial hump, getting over that initial rut, and then it becomes self-perpetuating. So if we know what it feels like and we understand the benefits, why do we so often sit on our hands? Why was my answer to that question in your 4 last week that most people won't execute on the information I provide? Why am I so confident in that? Why do we all do it? We've all done it. We've all sat on our hands. We've all procrastinated. Why? I think there's 5 things, guys. I think there's 5 distinct reasons why we don't execute, and in particular, why we procrastinate and sit in our hands when we know that we should be acting, we know that we should be executing. The first one, and some of these, I speak about so many of these in so many different contexts, so it should come as no surprise to you guys that you've heard some of these before, but some of them are new, specific to this circumstance as well. The first one is fear of failure. What if I do this and it doesn't work out? And that is particularly prevalent in business and career, in your work. What if I try this new business initiative and it doesn't work and I fail? What if I'm working towards this new KPI and I don't have what it takes and I fail? What if my boss gives me this new project that's designed to test me, that's designed to stretch me, and I don't have what it takes and I fail? Fear of failure is the first thing that keeps us in procrastination, stops us from executing. The second one, it's kind of tied to fear of failure, but distinct nevertheless, is discomfort, is being pushed outside of what is currently comfortable, which is not executing, those habits and routines that align with procrastinating and getting out of that rut and getting over that hump. And this, for most of us, is very, very obvious when it comes to fitness. If we've had a period of time, a month, 3 months, 6 months, a couple of years where, we've had to prioritize our work, we've had to prioritize our family, and our fitness has just kind of been pushed to the wayside. And now it's time, maybe I put on a little bit of weight, maybe my health markers are not so good, maybe I'm just not feeling good about the way I look or the way I feel, and it's time to get my fitness back into those list of priorities. That initial discomfort makes it so difficult to execute. That initial after that first week of workouts, my whole body is aching. My body is screaming at me from the delayed onset muscle soreness. I'm in so much pain. Or even following a diet, I'm so hungry. My sugar cravings are intense. It's really uncomfortable to follow this diet when for the last few months or few years, I've been eating what the fuck I want. I haven't been tracking anything, and I haven't given a single fuck about what I put in my body. So discomfort is the second thing that keeps us in procrastination, stops us from executing. The third one, and this is quite unique, is overthinking. And it often manifests itself as either overwhelm or self-doubt. And the overthinking is, where do I even begin executing? Where do I even start? I've got this massive goal or this massive task or this massive thing that I want to pursue, and I don't even fucking know where to start. And that's overthinking, overwhelm. And then that leads into, do I even have what it takes? Because if I don't know where to start, how the fuck am I ever going to be able to execute through this particular thing that's in front of me right now? So the overthinking, overwhelm, and then overthinking, self-doubt. And this so often manifests itself in business and career, guys. You've got that new business venture that you've been wanting to start for the last 2 years or 5 years or whatever. And it's so big, you don't know where to start. And because you don't know where to start, you start doubting your abilities to even begin. In your career, you've just been handed this new responsibility from your superior. And it's outside of your comfort zone. It may even be outside of your skill set. And it's so big and it's so intimidating, you don't even know where to begin. And because you don't know where to begin, you start questioning, a little bit of imposter syndrome creeps in, and you start questioning whether or not you're the right person for the job. So overthinking in the form of overwhelm and self-doubt is the third thing that prevents us from executing. Number 4, you guys have heard this one before, other people's opinions. What are people going to say if I start down this path and either it doesn't work out or it's just something different from what they're used to seeing from me? And if we take the example of fitness here, you know, if your friends and your family are not into fitness and they don't really care about their health and they want to eat what they want to eat and drink what they want to drink and never exercise, and you go, you know what, I want to start prioritizing my fitness for the first time, or I want to start prioritizing my fitness again, for whatever reason, personally, you've decided to do that. The fear of those other people's opinions close to you, your friends and your family, is a big barrier to you starting on that fitness regime. You know, what are they going to say when I come to a dinner and I bring my own food? Or what are they going to say when, you know, we're at an event and there's wine and spirits and alcohol in whatever form, and I go, you know what, I'm going to pass. Right? I'm not drinking at the moment. What are they going to say? Other people's opinions stops us from executing. And then finally, I've saved the best till last. This is the one that I see most commonly. Lack of urgency. You can have the best plans in the world for your next business venture, for your next career move, for your next fitness regime. You can plan that shit out. You can have it perfect in the way that you know what you need to do to get where you need to go. And then you go, you know what? I'll just do it tomorrow. Or I'll do it next week. Or, you know, in 3 months' time, when I've got this other shit out the way, that's when I'll dive in. Or, you know what? The time isn't right now, but it will be sometime in the future. And when the time is perfect, that's when I'll go and I'll start executing. We've all done this. Guys, I've done this. I'm guilty of this as well. Sitting on my hands because of the lack of urgency, because I got other things that I have decided are more important right now, and they never fucking are. They never are. But I've decided that they are because it allows me to sit on my hands, procrastinate, and not execute. Lack of urgency is the 5th that causes us to procrastinate and stops us from executing. So how do we overcome these 5 things, guys? The first one, fear of failure. I could give you the token answer here of just confront your fears, but we all know that that's bullshit. We all know that you can't just confront your fears without changing your thought process around why you fear things in the first place. So my advice in this, confronting this particular barrier to execution, is to actually reframe failure. So instead of saying, you know what if I try this new business venture, or what if I make this career move and it doesn't work out? Say to yourself, you know what? I actually hope that I try this and it doesn't work out. Because if it doesn't work out, I get to own the consequences of my decisions. I get to learn from my failures. And through it all, I get to develop new skills. I get to grow and develop as a person, as a businessman, as an employee, as a leader, as a staff member. I actually hope that it doesn't work out the way I think it's going to work out, because that's where true growth and true development happens. What about the second one, discomfort? Once again, I think that this is really kind of stepping back and having the perception that the only way to get over discomfort and things that are uncomfortable is to actually go straight through them. Because all change is I'm gonna take a quote from Robin Sharma here. All change is hard at first, messy in the middle, and gorgeous at the end. We know this to be true because we've all done it, guys. We've all confronted that discomfort from time to time, whether it's in our fitness, whether it's in our business. We've all gone over that initial hurdle. We've all pulled ourselves out of that initial rut. And we know that it's really hard at the time. But when we look back, we go, you know what? I wish I did it earlier. I wish I had the courage to look discomfort in the eyes and run straight towards it. So fear is a little difficult to confront head on without that change in perspective, without that reframing of fear. Discomfort, you got to go straight into it. You got to understand that it's part of the process of executing and moving towards your goals in whatever area of your life you're trying to level up in. What about number 3? Overthinking. Overthinking, overwhelm, and overthinking self-doubt. I actually recorded an entire episode of this show back in April 2021. April 13, 2021 was the date it went live. And the episode was called How to Eat an Elephant. And that is the exact strategy of how you overcome this feeling of overwhelm that prevents you from taking the very first step. You take the big elephant-sized task that causes you to overthink overwhelm and then start doubting your abilities, and you break it down into very small bite-sized pieces. You break it down into bite-sized pieces that don't overwhelm you and that you know will be a little bit of a stretch, absolutely, but you have the skills and the experience to take that first bite. That's how you confront overthinking overwhelm and overthinking self-doubt. What about number 4, other people's opinions? This is really about understanding, guys, that you have to make a choice. At some point in your life, you have to make a choice between what's more important to you. Satisfying other people and holding their opinions as the most important opinions, or saying, fuck other people's opinions. I'm going to do what I want to do because that's more important to me than satisfying what other people want me to do and what other people think I should do. You have to get to that point. And you also have to understand that a lot of the times, other people's negative opinions of what you're doing, especially when it comes to executing, especially when it comes to, you know what, this new fitness regime that you want to embark on, or this new business venture that you want to embark on, or this new career move that you want to make. A lot of the time when other people are expressing their dissentful or negative opinions about that particular thing you want to do, it says more about their insecurities than it does about what you actually want to do. And in most cases, it's them projecting their own insecurities onto you because they don't have the courage or the skills or the experience or the drive or the motivation or whatever the fuck it is they need to go and execute the thing that you are trying to execute right now. When you want to start that new fitness regime, and you cop some shit from your friends and your family because you're following a diet and you're not drinking alcohol, that's their insecurities being projected on you because they know that they don't have the self-control to follow a diet and not drink fucking alcohol. That doesn't say anything about you. That's their opinion. That's their insecurities. And they're trying to project that shit onto you. It's got nothing to do with what you're trying to do in your fitness. Same with business, same with career moves. When you want to go and start a new business or you want to make this career move to kind of move you up the corporate ladder or the ladder of whatever career you work in, and people come at you with, it's risky, you know, I wouldn't do it. If it was me, I wouldn't do it. No shit, you wouldn't do it. That's why you haven't done it. So get out of my face with your insecure bullshit. Other people's opinions say much more about themselves than they ever will about you. And you guys have to get to a point where you care more about your own opinion than the opinions of others. And point 5, lack of urgency. I think the easiest way to combat this, guys, is to set deadlines, first and foremost. And in particular, when you're setting goals for different areas of your lives, use the SMART goal setting methodology, SMART. I've done a shit ton of content on it, so I'm not going to repeat myself, but I will just remind you guys what the acronym stands for: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And the most important one when it comes to urgency is time-bound. You have to put deadlines on your goals, because if you don't, you're never going to be able to instill the sort of urgency you need to instill. And you're always going to be going, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it next week. I'll do it in 3 months when I've got these other things sorted. I'll do it when the time is right. And the time is never fucking right, which is why you have to set deadlines. And I encourage you guys to use the SMART, SMART goal setting methodology, and in particular, the T part, the time bound. Set the deadline, work towards the deadline, and make sure you get off your ass and execute. I want to leave you guys with one final thought. And it does it ties into, the lack of urgency aspect here is so unique to executing and such a driver of procrastination, probably more importantly than any of the other 5 barriers to executing that we've covered in the show. And it does tie into this final thought that I want to leave you guys with. There's 2 main motivators. The first one is pursuit of pleasure. The second one is avoidance of pain. When it comes to executing, for most of us, the pursuit of pleasure is nice, but it's not a big enough motivator to allow us to confront those 5 barriers to execution. The pursuit of pleasure, in most instances, is not strong enough to allow us to overcome the fear of failure. It's not strong enough to allow us to overcome discomfort. It's not strong enough to allow us to overcome overthinking, overwhelm, and self-doubt. It's not strong enough for us to make the decision that our opinion is more important than other people's opinions. And it's definitely not strong enough for us to instill urgency so that we actually execute. What is strong enough is the avoidance of pain. In fitness, for most of us, it's going to get to a point where we're sick and tired of not feeling and not looking the way we want. Or we have a minor health scare or a major health scare, or somebody close to us has a minor health scare or a major health scare. And it's like, fuck, I really need to start prioritizing my fitness at this point. It's that avoidance of pain. It's that shock factor that is going to be strong enough to get us over the 5 barriers to execution and actually get us to start working towards our fitness. In the business realm, in the career realm, in our work, often the pursuit of pleasure of building a multi-million-dollar business or earning a 6-figure salary or getting into a particular position in your career is nice, but it's not a strong enough motivator to get us to execute, to confront these 5 barriers. What is getting to a point where we are sick and fucking tired of working a job that doesn't bring us fulfillment, or of working a job where we're just spinning our wheels, doing the same shit day in, day out, and it drives us fucking crazy. The avoidance of that pain, getting to that point where it's like, you know what? I don't give a fuck about failing. I don't give a fuck about confronting the uncomfortable. I don't care about overwhelm and self-doubt. I don't care about what other people are going to say. And I'm urgent as fuck because I need to get out of this position I'm in, is going to be the motivator for us to execute. I want you guys to give this some thought. What is it going to take for you to start executing on that thing right now that you've been sitting on your hands about. And we've all got at least one thing. I know something just popped into your head right now, guys. Maybe it's work related, maybe it's fitness related, perhaps it's relationships related. Perhaps it's a friendship that you need to do something about, or a personal relationship you need to do something about, or act towards, or execute on in a particular way. Whatever it is, I want you to ask yourself, what is it going to take for you to start executing towards that thing? Give that some real thought. And the answer to that question should be your primary motivator to get off your hands and start doing the fucking work. I'll give you guys something that I often fall back on when it comes to executing, when it comes to things that I'm kind of pushing back, sitting on my hands, procrastinating on where I know I shouldn't be and I need to be doing the work. I often meditate on my mortality. I often put myself in a position where I go, you know what? If this was my last day in this life, on this earth, would I wake up tomorrow? Well, I wouldn't wake up tomorrow, but would I get to crossing over and go, fuck, I wish that I had done that particular thing? Would I get to the end of my time in this life and my time on this earth and experience regret around something that I should have executed on, that I didn't for whatever reason, that I sat on my hands about for whatever reason? I often do this. I'll often put myself in a state where I go, you know what? I need to really meditate on my mortality, understand that all of us, we all think we have more time than we do. Our time could be up tomorrow. It could be up next year. It could be up in 10 years. It could be up in 50 years. It could be up in 100 years. One thing's for sure, we always overestimate how much time we have to get shit done, which is why so many of us say we'll do it tomorrow, we'll do it next month, we'll do it next year, we'll do it when the time is right. So I encourage you guys to fall back on that question, what is it going to take? To meditate on your mortality and actually think about the regret you would experience if today was your last day on earth and you didn't do that thing that you've been sitting on your hands for the last month, the last 6 months, the last 2 years about. Actually feel it. Put yourself in that position. And remind yourself that your clock is ticking. There's not much time left. There's definitely less time than you think there is left. And the only thing left to do, guys, is get yourself in a position where you have no choice but to execute. Execution is everything. Let's go. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Fitness Times Business Podcast. We hope you enjoyed listening. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform. And if you enjoyed this episode and took some value from it, make sure you share it with your friends, your family, and your followers. And if you haven't yet, be sure to leave us a 5-star rating.